beginning of about the middle of 2008, and they had just lost 50,000 acres. 50,000 acres. Absolute privilege of watching my parents build generational wealth in one generation. Start from nothing, build businesses. There's a lot of ways to build wealth, stock market being one, real estate being one that I really like. The third one though, and this is the hardest one, but it's the best one. If you're listening to this, you're W-2. I would tell you that the best thing you get really good at is your damn job.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Commercial Real Estate Blueprint Podcast. Today we have Alan Franks. He's a certified financial planner. He's the author of Empowered Money, and he's also the founder of the Business Planning Institute. So I think this is our first financial planner we've had on the podcast, which is really interesting. And before recording, we were talking about all kinds of stuff, your book, hard money lending, and also you mentioned just different creative ways that people can build wealth. And you said something funny. You said, not all financial planners are kind of stuffy and, I don't even know the word for it, but I definitely think that's the impression that people think when they think about financial planning. So you said that you're creative, and a lot of people don't think of it that way. So I'm very excited to hear different strategies and just kind of hear your viewpoint on everything. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. Wealth building should be fun, right? This is a game. This is a fun game. You're going to lose some games, right? You are, but you're going to, probably win most of them, particularly if you're taking calculated risk out there. And I think most people's perception of a financial planner is that they're going to make me, I don't know what it is. Maybe they're going to make me budget more, or hey, they're only going to show me products that they make money on and not this, right? Well, sure, a lot of us, a lot of people in the financial planning industry do fall into that, but not all of us, right? So today we're going to talk about, my passion for wealth building and how we can get creative and how we can do it in multiple ways and have a lot of fun doing it.
For sure. So for people don't, know much about you, give us a little bit of your background, and then also tell us how you got into this industry.
Yeah, man. So I've been doing this for 15 years. The only job I ever had, but it goes so farther back than that. I had the absolute privilege of watching my parents build generational wealth in one generation. Start from nothing, build businesses, buy real estate. And my dad took me in to these meetings. He took me into meetings with his life insurance person. He took me to a closing in 2006 where he bought 8 rental properties with no cash down after taking a Robert Kiyosaki course on how to do this, right? He would take me to his staff meetings at his business. He would fill me in on challenges he was having there. And I got to see this. I got to see all of how all this can come together here. And I also got to see mistakes along the way. I feel like we probably learn more from our parents' mistakes than we do their successes, right? And so, it's just kind of weird. It's just a weird upbringing. I was gifted in that, I was brought up on like Zig Ziglar and Robert Kiyosaki. We used to play the cash flow board game as a family and try to beat my brothers, and then I also, saw some really tough times. I remember being at dinner with 2 of the pillars of our community and my parents, and these were 2 of the wealthiest people that we knew. And it was the beginning of about the middle of 2008, and they had just lost 50,000 acres, 50,000 acres, right?
Wow.
And they had just lost it. And to see a community built on real estate crumble like that. And I think anybody, I'm 38, anybody who's our age, a little bit older, I think there's some scar tissue from that time period. Right. And so long story short, I studied economics and entrepreneurial management at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia. And I got out and, had a great GPA. I thought it would be jet setting for Boston Consulting Group. I thought I had an internship lined up at Lloyd's of London in London. And there was just no jobs, man. Like, you talk about the worst job economy. That 2010 was just awful. So ended up taking a commission-only sales job. I want to not say the name of the company, but I was there for 5 years, and it was kind of known as a company that was very sales heavy. And I learned a ton, but I really learned what I didn't want to do when I grew up, and that was be a commission-only salesperson, right? So when I got married to my wife, Allison, we moved to Atlanta. I switched firms, and I went to fee-based financial planning. And basically in this arrangement, there's more of a fee up front, but you get to help people out in every single area of their lives. So that's the cash flow side. That's helping them choose their employee benefits. That's helping them understand and plan around life and disability income insurance, not just be sold an insurance policy, which people hate, but actually plan around it and have the solution fit the plan. Helping them understand investments and how they work and getting them confident around it, but also showing them how we can maybe even borrow against some of our assets, like a home equity line of credit, like an investment line of credit, to go do some extra things like real estate, right? And helping them understand good debt versus bad debt, how debt in itself is an accelerator that can take somebody with really bad habits and really accelerate their demise, but it can also take somebody with really good health habits and accelerate their wealth building. So, what we found is this became, went from a job to a career to a calling. And eventually it's like, hey, people got to pay me for my services here. Not everybody can afford that. Why don't we write a book so that for $20, right, people can get what people pay thousands of dollars for, right? So that's the idea of the book, Empowered Money. It's just my kind of love letter to everybody saying, hey, we need to democratize wealth building. Everybody should be able to build wealth. And if you can't afford me, here's everything that we take our clients through. And if you follow it A through Z, you will have a better life.
That's awesome. Yeah, give us a little more. I want to know more about your book because. So to give us like an overview of it, I mean, you gave us a brief overview there, but go a little more into depth on what it talks about.
Yeah. So first of all, it's a real book. This is not a fluff piece, right? It's a real book with real heavy material, and it's there to be an A through Z guide on financial planning. And it starts with vision and values, goes into budgeting, goes into risk management, investments, what that leverage, estate planning, you name it, right? If you follow that book, you will have a really good plan at the end of the day. But the point of financial planning is not to create wealth. That's a byproduct. The point of financial planning is if you can get this one area of your life right, if you can get your finances right, literally every single area of your life is going to be better because of it. The roof that's over your head will be sturdier because your financial planning is solid. The vacations that you take will be longer and you'll be able to be more present because you won't have financial stress. The food you're able to put on your table will have less pesticides and it will be healthier, right? So the idea here is, hey, if we can get this one area of our life right, it literally is going to have this ripple effect across the entirety of our lives here, and we will be able to live a more empowered life, right? So empowered money is not necessarily about money. It's about living life to the fullest. We just did a team retreat up in the mountains, and it's January when we're filming this. So it was so funny. We did a sauna cold plunge in the river. That the river was so cold. And we got in there and we were talking about our goals and everything of that nature. But, I just said to my team, I'm like, man, dying doesn't scare me. I'm not afraid of death. I've got everything buttoned up. I've got the amount of life insurance. I've got my estate planning. Like, if I die, right? What really scares me is never living. That's what really scares me. And there's a really good book that came out. And at first I was so against it. And then I just had people recommend it. It's called Die with Zero. And at first, my first third of the book, I was like, this is dumb. This is stupid. Because I'm trying to help my clients build generational wealth here. Die with Zero is the opposite of that, right? Well, then all of a sudden I started the second third of the book. I'm like, okay, I see where he's coming from here. It's like, hey, why don't we give away money while we're still alive? Why don't we give money to charity while we're still alive? Why don't we spend more money while we're still alive to live, right? By the end of the book, I'm like, this is a great book. People need to read this book because what happens is that particularly with savers, they are so comfortable squirreling away money. And then all of a sudden we go from 40 years of a career where we're making money, saving money, investing money, and then we flip that switch and we go from there to investor, right? And now we're actually having to sell assets and spend down assets, right? And that's a totally different mindset shift. And it's really hard for people to make that shift there. And so oftentimes what we do is we're giving our clients permission to spend, right? Permission to live. Oftentimes we are making them spend. What I mean by making them is that we are having them set their goals and we're holding them accountable. Hey, you said you wanted to do this trip to Europe. We haven't done it. What's going on? Why do we have this mental barrier right here? And helping them get over the mental barriers, confirming that they have a really good financial plan, confirming that they are in a great position long term, and then helping them give them the comfort to actually make these purchases that will create memories for a lifetime.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's an interesting balance, right? Because you have people who are savers and they like don't like you're saying don't really live their life. They spend their whole life saving up money, and then I feel like they maybe towards the end of their life they realize, man, maybe I should have spent some of this money. And then you got people on the other side of the spectrum where you spend money, spend money, spend money, you never save, and then you're working constantly. And I think
Yeah.
it's just such an interesting dynamic because I feel like Jesse and I we're pretty reasonable, but we definitely also spend a lot of money, especially in the real estate game where we're like hey, if we buy this property, that's going to deplete all that we have. And then Jesse and me look at each other like, let's do it. And then we just go for it.
Yeah.
So like there's obviously a balance of like being risky and taking a risk, but also being responsible. And yeah, I think it's
That's
just
right,
interesting.
man. Yeah, that's right. And that's all that financial planning is balance, right? It's a balance between living life now and living life in the future, right? Now, the point of financial planning is to spend more money. Now, if you save it now, it will grow over time and invest it wisely. It will grow over time and you'll be able to spend more money in the future, right? But it's also helping people take calculated risk around leverage and how much exposure they can have. So, and I will say this, and you guys probably agree with this, but with Instagram Reels and with TikTok, we're finding that people are getting very, very isolated in their focus, right? So we have, let me see if I can, all right. And no offense to you guys, if you guys fall into this, it wouldn't surprise me. But we've got our real estate bros, our crypto hoes, and our stock junkies right now, right? And if you're a real estate bro, you tend to see everything through a real estate lens. If you're a crypto hoe, you see everything through crypto. And if you're a stock junkie, it's all about the stock market, right? And I'm just here to tell you that if you are one of those three, you're right. You have been right. Okay. Right. Listen, it's been so easy to make money the last 5 years. It's been really hard to lose money, right? And if you've been in real estate, you made a lot of money. Been in crypto, you made a lot of money. Been in stocks, you made a lot of money, right? But I'm here to say, why don't we just take one step back here and say, hey, what if we were to find a way to responsibly get all three of these asset categories working for us, right? It's just us. The biggest cost in your financial life is not the cost of a financial advisor. It's not the cost of a real estate syndicate and the fees that the people are charging. The biggest cost in all of our lives is this idea of an opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost is an economics term. It says if you do this, you cannot do this. If you invest in this building, you can't go invest in this building. That's the true cost. If you go buy this car and your payment's now $1,200 because you got a big old truck, right? That's $1,200 that you cannot invest into the market. Next thing you know, that truck that looks like it's 80 grand, probably going to cost you about 800 grand over your lifetime, right? It's understanding. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Doesn't mean you don't go get that truck. It's about understanding the opportunity cost and still making really wise decisions.
So something that we've been talking a lot about on the podcast lately has been focus. And while I like stocks and I like crypto and I'm invested in both of those, I don't know them as well as I do, I would say, commercial real estate at this point.
Sure.
So what's your thoughts on for those people out there that want to get into all three, but it's like, okay, well, I know Bitcoin is good, or I want to invest in Bitcoin, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about trading stocks. I'm just going to buy the S&P 500. Is like talk to us about like balancing that and how people actually do that, because I want to be in all three. I don't remember. I think Graham has a bunch of crypto too, but like just talk to us about that, because that
Yeah,
balance and like I just don't know it as well, And so what do I
sure.
do? Here's the truth about learning commercial real estate. You can figure it out alone and it be painful, or you can learn from people who have already done it and it be so much less painful. Slava said it best. It's really just watching the people that came before us. They're open, they share how they do it, and we replicate their success. Danny told me this. Commercial Academy is my number one source of off market deals. I just say I'm looking and deals start coming my way. That's the power of being in the room, knowing the right people, and having the right network. Commercial Academy Live, Orlando, January 30th through February 1st, 2026. 3 days to learn from operators who have already done the deals, and it's 3 days to build a network that becomes your advantage. Text Blueprint to 888-653-1199 for an exclusive discount. I am telling all of my friends to come to this that are even on the fence about joining and being in commercial real estate. If you're already in commercial real estate, you 100% have to be there. See you there.
Sure, sure. So here's the deal: is that if you're 40 or so, we grew up in the information age. Okay. And the information age quickly became the over information age and sometimes even the misinformation age, right? And the idea that we should know about something before we invest in it is rather new, right? Typically in the past, it'd just be like, hey, I'm a doctor, take my money, do whatever, I'm a doctor, right? And now all of a sudden, because we have the internet and we've got Instagram Reels and TikToks, now everybody's an expert in everything, right? You go to ChatGPT in 30 minutes, you can be an expert on it, right? And the truth is that one of the best books that I've read is Who Not How. Who Not How. Okay.
Oh yeah.
By Dan Sullivan. I forget
Yeah.
the guy
We
who
talk about
actually
that book all the time.
Ben Hardy.
Ben Hardy. Yep.
Ben Hardy.
Yep.
God, man, Ben
Love
Hardy
that book.
could write a book, man. I read everything that he's written. He's phenomenal.
Did you listen to or read his most recent one, Science of Scaling? Have you read that yet?
It's so freaking good. As a matter of fact, it was so good, I actually gave it away to one of my best clients. Before I got done reading, I was like, dude, you got to read this. So I need to order another copy to finish it, man. But when I look at my scaling and my goals for my business, I took it exactly from him, right, in that book. So, but anyways, I'm very big on this because eventually you are going to have kids come into the picture. Eventually you're going to have, hopefully your business gets so busy that you can't even think about other things. That doesn't mean you don't go do other things, right? And so finding partners, for instance, I've got 6 rental homes that I actively manage. That's for the birds, man. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted on this stuff, right? I will never buy an individual real estate as an investment. I'm going to do syndicates from now on. I'm going to do passive syndicates, right? I'm going to let somebody else who's an absolute beast at what they do spend all their time and all their hard work, and they're going to probably get paid handsomely here, and I'm going to lose some control, and it may not go exactly as I want it to, but I just don't have the time with a couple of kids in a business, right? So that's a who, not how scenario right there. And luckily, not as much in the crypto world, I'll be honest with you. There's not as many, I don't think as many places you can go to have people like trade your crypto for you. I think they're out there. I don't know anything about them, right? But in the stock world, it's not that hard to find somebody who's really good at that and say, you know what, I'm gonna choose to outsource this so I can focus in on my business and growing my career, and that's what I've chosen to do.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And it seems like I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm sure you guys do, listen to a lot of podcasts, educating myself on all kinds of things. And, I watch people like Kevin O'Leary or very successful people, Axel Hormozy, and you hear a billion different things, right? And it's like going back to Instagram and TikTok or whatever. You go on there, if you go on Instagram right now, you'll get 5 ads within 2 minutes about, I can teach you how to day trade. I can teach you how to do real estate. I can teach you how to fix and flip. I can teach you how to do crypto, yada, yada, yada. Right. But I feel like the consensus among very successful people, and you probably, you can speak to this, but is that when you're just starting out, you have to focus on just one thing. You have to get very good at it. You have to do that for, a good long while until you can build up your income. You can make a lot of money. You can do whatever, be successful. And then once you do that, you can diversify into other things. Or if you're going to do a different strategy, it's exactly what you just said. You use the who, not how mentality, where you're still focusing on that one thing and you can invest into other stuff. But if you're going to invest into other stuff, you're not the person front running. It's not taking a lot of your mental energy. Like you just said, like for you, for example, you're talking about your financial planning business. It's probably where you spend like 99% of your business. And then maybe you got, real estate, you're investing on the side with somebody you trust, a good operator. You got maybe crypto and auto draft or whatever, and you're doing other things, but your main core focus is your financial planning. For us, that's what we've kind of boiled it down to, especially after reading Science of Scaling. Initially, we were like, we're going to cut out the content. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to cut out all these different things. And really it's like, no, we don't need to cut it out. That's very important. We just need to spend almost all of our time focusing on commercial real estate. And then we got to do this other stuff. We just have to figure out how we're not the ones doing all the work. We can do a little bit of it, but we have to leverage ourselves and leverage our time to where, we might sit down for an hour, 2 hours a week doing content, but then it gets passed off to somebody else and they're editing it, they're posting, they're doing all this stuff for us. And all our time and energy is focused on commercial real estate related stuff. And I feel like that's kind of the consensus among very successful people.
Well, I mean, there's 3 ways to build wealth in America. One is the stock market. That's probably the most common because if you're W-2, you just click a button and money automatically goes into a 401k and then they match, right? And then, to be clear, it's so funny. My dad's a business owner. My dad had real estate. He did not necessarily like the stock market. He had some money in there. So I kind of grew up jaded against the stock market. And I'll say this, the more you learn about a certain thing, the more comfortable you are with it, right? So education is important. It's not just, hey, here's Alan, give him all my money, let the right. No, 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 no. We take our clients through a very big education process because there's a lot of misinformation about the stock market and how it runs. But the truth is when you invest in a stock market, you're investing in entrepreneurs, the best entrepreneurs, the smartest people in the world, right? Who have accountability down to the second on what the value of their business is worth. Think about that, right? Think about if all of us had the accountability of the stock market when we have, hey, your worth is this right now, right? And so sometimes that can lead to short-term decision making, which isn't good. But in general, that accountability of knowing what that stock price is really drives it long term. And that's the problem that we find with people who have their own businesses is they don't know the value of their own business and they stop building that value way too soon. So that's what kind of my mission is with the Business Planning Institute, is help people understand the value of their company and growing it over time. 10Xing in 10 years is what we're looking for. Going from the science of scaling, what do we got to do to 10X in 10 years? It's a 25% CAGR every single year. It's doable, right? And guess what? If you 5X in 10 years, you're still going to be really happy on there, right? But there's a lot of ways to build wealth, stock market being one, real estate being one that I really like as well. The third one, though, and this is the hardest one, but it's the best one, is to start and sell a business, right? It's to start and sell a business, and that's what you're talking about, getting really good at one thing. Now, if you're W-2, if you're listening to this, you're W-2, I would tell you that the best thing you get really good at is your damn job. Get good at your job, right? Because that's the financial engine that spurs the excess cash flow to go invest in everything else, right? If you want to know, when I was starting out, I was about the side hustle, right? Let's go drive an Uber or whatever. Right? No, sure. Man, just freaking get a designation after your name or something, right? Show up 30 minutes earlier. Be prepared for the meeting, right? That's the solution to all of our problems is making more money a lot of the time, right? And saving money in today's world is so exceptionally hard. We live in the most expensive world ever by a long shot. And we can work really hard on budgeting and be very diligent and save you $500 a month, or you can go find one new client, right? Like which one's going to be more fun to do, right? So when we're looking at those three ways of building wealth here, stock market, real estate, business ownership, we really do want to be hitting on at least two out of those three there. And so it is a lot about education to get people comfortable. But then, as you're right, if in the position you guys are in, focusing in on that one business that's driving the revenue that is going to give you the money. From there, it's who, not how, right? From there, it's, hey, if I go become an expert in the stock market, that's less time that I'm spending on my commercial real estate business, right? So focusing on whether it's your career, your job, your business, right? Having that be the financial engine, but then building a really good team around you to help handle all the other stuff so that you don't get distracted. That's pivotal in today's world.
Yeah, for sure. Question for you on this was, we're trying to build a team as well. We're trying to find an executive assistant. We're trying to find some other people on social media, stuff that can help us. What is a good balance, and how do you determine that? We want to build out a team, we want to hire people, but we don't want to spend too much money to where we kind of overextend ourselves. What do you think that balance is?
Yeah, it's great. So guys, a little bit about my journey and why I most time I work with business owners right now, because of these questions. These are so hard, and these are things that AI can't tell you how to do, right? This is just so nuanced to you guys. And so about 5 years ago, I'm sitting down and I'm watching a Kevin Hart documentary, and Kevin Hart says something that just hits me right in the chest. He says, as a comedian, I'm a 10 out of 10. As a business owner, I'm pure trash. I'm a 2 out of 10. And that just hit me in the heart. And I said, man, as a financial planner, I feel like I'm a 10 out of 10. Man, my business is a mess. And I've got no consistency, no systems, no processes. So I just said, you know what? I got to teach myself. There's no business school, by the way, that teaches you how to do this. Wharton doesn't teach you how to do this. It teaches you how to become an investment banker. It teaches you how to become a consultant. Just like, why didn't they teach you this in school? Guess what? If they taught it in school, you wouldn't remember. I studied entrepreneurial management, right? None of that mattered. The only way you learn how to be a business owner is to be a business owner, right? So I basically did a self-taught course, and there's 2 books I want to bring up here to help you in your decision on who to hire, right? Number 1 is Buy Back Your Time. Have you guys read that book?
Yep.
Great book. That's probably the best book I read last year and helping guide my hiring techniques. And then the other one would be Profit First, which gives you a structure on how to deploy capital. Because what we find when people are business owners is that their business is their baby, right? I've spent 15 years building my business, right? I've had my daughter for 2. Now, to be clear, I love my daughter more than my business, but it's easy to just reinvest money into the business over and over and over and never pay yourself, never set aside the right amount for taxes, right? And so what Profit First does is it just gives you a structure of, hey, X amount of your revenue goes towards your business, X amount goes to Uncle Sam, X amount goes to you. And now, so we got to get creative in there, because if you're a business owner and you got cash in the business, somebody comes on with a new marketing tool or something like that, you're like, yeah, it's in there, let's try it. Well, maybe if we had to be a little bit more creative here. Maybe if we had to be like the guy who runs the Savannah Bananas and didn't have money and he had to create and be creative here, right? We would have found a better solution. The problem with throwing money at a problem in business is very rarely does it actually work. And the next thing you know, you just have less money and you still have the same problem, right? So having some sort of structure and format of how much you can spend on other people, and then obviously having the idea of who we want to hire to do that stuff. Those 2 books right there, that combination, really help drive the way I make business decisions, and I think it's a good framework for most business owners.
Yeah, I've read both books, and I really love both books. Those are definitely 2 of my favorite books in the last couple of years that I've read. I'd never heard or read a book about that actually got into the details of how you should manage your money in a business. And I see brokerage as just as much of a business as anything else. I have a side hustle, I have a business, right? But like, I see my brokerage the same way. Like, I need to make sure that business is kind of working for me. I'm getting in leads through mailers, I'm getting leads in through, whatever avenue of outreach that you're doing, even Google ads or Instagram ads is what we've been doing for outreach for buying buildings, right? I really loved that book. I never heard anything that was detailed as that, as far as move your money here, this is the percent, this is where you start. I just thought it was really great. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in the podcast too, healthy habits. I was curious what you were mentioning, and what I guess they're probably in your book, Empowered Money, but what are some healthy financial habits that entrepreneurs can have today?
Yeah, I would say this, whether you're W-2 or an entrepreneur, my first boss told me there's 2 types of people in this world: those who pay themselves first and then spend what's left, and then those who spend first and then save what's left, right? And so what we want to do here, guys, when we're working with a client, we want to automate this stuff. We want to remove human nature from our financial planning. We as humans are not meant to delay gratification. We're not. Right? I mean, for hundreds of thousands of years, kill food, eat food, may not be there tomorrow, right? We got to eat as much as we can right now, because this food, we don't have a way to store it. Another animal might come get it, right? And so the idea of us planning for ages 65 to 90, when the average life expectancy wasn't I don't know when the average life expectancy got to age 65, but let's say it was like 1900. Right? Or something like that, right? So we spent the bulk of our existence just living and dying. And now all of a sudden, we have this new concept of retirement here, newer concept of retirement, where, hey, we've got to save here so that we can live from age 60 to age 90. That's not in our DNA. It's not, right? So what we've got to do is we've got to structure our planning to where we combat this primal instinct to consume today, right? Now, the idea here is that we automate these savings tools and these savings vehicles, and then we just spend what's left. Because the truth is if you never see it, you can't spend it, and you get used to it. We are very adaptable. If all of a sudden our income goes from 10K after tax to 8K, yeah, it's going to be a rough transition, but we'll find a way to make this thing happen. Right? But if it goes from 10K to 12K, guess what? We're also going to find a way to spend that extra 2K a month, right? So the idea here is that having an accountability partner. You guys have coaches, right? I want to assume that you guys have coaches. You've paid for programs. Maybe
we've definitely paid for stuff and had coaches. We don't have like an active coach right now, but yeah.
Sure, right? So there's seasons in life. I pay $2,000 a month for my coach, and I think it's worth every damn penny, right? But that's what a good financial planner should be. Is it should be a coach. It should be an accountability partner as well here on this, to say, hey, listen, you said you wanted this. To do that, we got to do this, but we're not doing this. That's cognitive dissonance here. You want this, but you're doing this. That's not going to lead to long-term happiness. It's going to lead to stress here. Why don't we do this to get us to right the ship right here? And that way, okay, we're in perfect alignment. Our visions and our values are aligned with our money. And when we can do that, man, ooh, magic happens.
What do you say to people? There's people who want to go and like you mentioned W-2 several times, right? So you have W-2 employees and also people who own their business, right? They work and they think, okay, well, when I get to 65, I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna have a nice big nest egg saved up, or I'm diversified in all these different assets. I have real estate, whatever, and they retire. What do you say to the person who says, I don't want to retire at 65? I want to retire at 40, or, I want to retire way faster than that, because there's a lot of people like myself and Jesse, like, I'm trying to retire next year. Not actually, but I'm trying to have my cash flow to the level of where it's at my brokerage by next year. And, we're trying to aggressively do that faster. And, that's also part of the science of scaling. It's like, we kind of had that mentality of trying to do this a lot faster before we read that book, but now it's like even more so. So what do you say to people like that who don't necessarily want to go the traditional route? They want to be more aggressive. They want to enjoy their money while they're young.
Totally. So Graham, let me answer that two ways. Number one, I want to actually go the opposite way real quick, because we run into this more often, of people saying that they don't believe in retirement. They want to work forever, right? Just bullshit, right? That just means that you're not good at saving money. That's all it means, right? No attorney loves what they're doing so much that they want to do it forever, right? They just didn't save money. Okay, we've run into that, right? And so the idea of wanting to work forever, I just want to let you know, at some point, it's going to get really old. And if it doesn't get old, guess what? You're going to get old, and your health is going to come back. So if you think, hey, I'm not going to save any money because I'm just going to work forever, that's incorrect. At some point, we just don't make good decisions anymore. At some point, right? If you have an aging parent, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like, wait, what did you say? What did you do, right? So that's on the other extreme, is working forever. What we're talking about is more, and there used to be a movement back. It may still be going on, the FIRE movement, like retire early, whatever. Right?
Yep.
Here's what I would tell those people: it is a constant balancing act between living life now and living life later. Okay. And it's one thing if we sell a business for tens of millions of dollars. That's a different thing. But for most people, that's not going to happen, right? So it's about, okay, we're going to save and invest. And we're going to sacrifice fun today so that we can go retire earlier at age 40, 45, 50 later on. Okay. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't think that that's living life. I don't think that's a well-balanced life. I think that if you sacrifice family trips today so that you can retire earlier, then you're going to be sacrificing lifetime memories, right? Like, for instance, one of my goals is to be able to take the entire month of July off to go out there, to go out west and go dude ranching, go, whitewater rafting through the Grand Canyon. I'm trying to get my business to a point where my kids get a little bit older. We can do that every single summer, because there's only so many summers that you can do that before they're gone, right? Before they're out of the house, right? So I would just tell everybody, when I'm doing a financial plan, I'll be honest with you, it's really hard to retire before age 60. It just is. When we're looking at a financial plan, retiring at age 55 is a massive challenge, because we're living a lot longer too, guys, right? Our generation will probably be living to age 100. So here's the deal. We call this the Brett Favre dilemma. Anybody growing up around our age remembers Brett Favre retired like 19 times, right? And it was the thing, hey, do I go retire, or do I go play QB for the Minnesota Vikings and make $10 million? And that's what we're going to come up with in our career. Hey, do we retire, or do we go work one more year and make X amount of money? Because if we do that, guess what? We're going to be able to spend more money later on, right? And so there's these constant trade-offs. And that's why I really think that you need a partner, a financial advisor, who can give you some perspective on this, who's done this 1,000 times, to say, hey, you want to do this? I love the ambition. I'm here for it. I want to help you, right? And that's exactly what we have to do in order to get there. But I just want to let you know, the ultimate card that we can play is just working one more year, right? So, hey, let's shoot for it. Let's shoot for retirement at 55. None of my clients are shooting for retirement at 65. I'll tell you that much. We're all trying to get them to at least 60, right? I thoroughly believe your first 30 years of your life are for learning. The second 30 years are for earning. And then the third 30 years are for doing whatever the hell you want, right? So we do want our people to retire earlier than age 65. But man, it does get really hard, because we got things like health insurance expenses pick up, right? We're living longer. So it's a trade-off, right? The longer you work, the more you can spend, okay? Right? The longer you're willing to work, maybe the more you can spend right now as well, right? right? So
Yeah.
that's what I would tell people is, hey, sure, it's a great goal. I just, I'd watch yourself at the front door. I'd say, hey, you know what? Sure, what are we willing to sacrifice to get there? Is it time away from family? Is it money? Right? Because I think there's maybe a more balanced approach to doing this.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting because we've interviewed a guy and we flew out to Austin, Texas to interview him. His name is Brian Lubin. I don't know if you heard of him or not. He's a younger guy and he has a sick awesome lifestyle. He's got a podcast and he could stop working basically at any time. And he has a book where he talks about how like the two ways to actually replace your income, which to get to the point where you could replace your like W-2 income or whatever you're doing, sales income, just through investments. There's really only two ways to do it. It's either buying a business, like a small business, or buying commercial real estate. And I think he says like buying a business is like, you could do it in maybe 6 months to a year. In commercial real estate, it's like really like 2 years. And we're in a program that talks about how, if you buy one deal one time, it can change your life forever, which I feel like that's very true. I bought a deal last year that provides a substantial amount of cash flow that covers a lot of my basic expenses, which is phenomenal. So I guess the point of what I was saying with all that is it's definitely, I do think it's definitely possible. I agree with you 100%. The most, 99, 98% of people are not going to get to that. But I do think it's pretty interesting that
it's a great goal, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, the ultimate goal of a business owner is to have a business run without them. That's the ultimate goal. We call it the Italy test. Can you go to Tuscany for 90 days and not come back to a dumpster fire, right? If you can, you have a really good business, right? Now, I'll be honest with you. I've worked with a lot of business owners. It's very hard to get there. That is the dream. That is the goal. But owning a business is hard, man. Right. And so then you look at a more passive investment like real estate. Okay. And basically this is going back to Robert Kiyosaki, right? We want our passive income to be larger than our lifestyle expenses. When we do that, we're out of the rat race and we're on the fast track, right? What I will say about that is that there was a point where I had reached that. Okay. We have 6 rental homes. They cash flow very well. There was a point where the after-tax income on that was larger than my actual expenses. 2 things happened that I did not foresee happen. Number one, well, I did foresee this. Number one, my expenses went up, right? You have more kids, bigger house, inflation happens, life got more expensive, right? The other thing is we get a lot of clients battling this, and this may not be as big in the commercial real estate, particularly with a triple net lease. But man, I tell you what, the silent inflation that's going on right now is eating people alive. And my real estate right now is barely breaking even. And why is that? Well, number one is that our insurance has gone up 50% in the last 5 years. Number two, our taxes have gone up a whole lot. Number three, the utilities, because we do short terms oftentimes, so we cover utilities, those have gone up. The only thing that hasn't gone up in the last 3 years is really the rent that we're able to charge. So we went from being just major cash flowing to the point where I'm like, man, let's just sell everything but our real estate, move to Costa Rica. It was a legit thought that we could have done that, to like, man, thank goodness I didn't do that, because this business is struggling right now, right? So, business is not linear, life's not linear, business isn't linear, right? So I would just say this, before you pull the plug and you fully retire here, I do think that you need to make certain you got a really rock solid financial plan that stress tests a lot of these things, because life does get more expensive. And businesses do go up and down.
For sure. And I want to clarify too that what I was getting to in that is mostly what he talks about is just getting to a point to where you can work on the things you want to work on. It's not like, we want to get to cash flow to replace our income and then we're just going to sit around. Like, absolutely not. Like, it's more about just having the cash flow to cover your basic expenses plus a little more. And then you can work on stuff that really excites you, which that's kind of what I'm going after, which I already do what I really love and I'm excited about. But, me and Jesse are both in 100% commission jobs. So we're just always grinding, trying to get new deals and stuff like that. And also
we were born to create, man. We were born to create. And I feel like people die inside every day in a W-2 job because it's limiting their creativity there. So I mean, the idea of an entrepreneur has changed so much. It used to be, hey, we're going to baby boom this thing and we're going to work really hard on our business. And then one day we're going to pass it to our kids or sell it at age 65 or 70, but they might have to carry me out of this place, right? Mm-hmm. Now the idea of entrepreneurship is, hey, how do I go start a business, exit in 10 years, start another business, exit that, start another business, exit that. And particularly with private equity multiples, it's made it very lucrative to do that. It's just to be clear, extremely difficult to
For
make that
sure.
happen.
For
Right.
sure. Yeah. The other thing too, I was going to emphasize was just that's exactly why we do commercial real estate. Everything we touch is triple net leases. That's why we talk a lot about it on this podcast. Like in the group we're in, it's called Commercial Academy. I'd say 90% of the people came over from residential to commercial, and it was like that same process. And that's kind of what we're trying to skip for people. If they listen to this and they hear this first, they can realize, oh, you don't actually have to start in residential, because a lot of people think that's not true. You can start right in commercial. You just need a mentor. You need someone you can follow, and you need to do a little bit of sweat equity, and you can learn how to do these deals and get a little bit of equity, and then slowly do them over and over again. Then you can do it yourself. But yeah, like the insurance and everything is crazy. And over the last years, like you said, it's been increasing so much. The beauty of a triple net lease is if the insurance goes up, that's passed directly through your tenant. So
hey guys, it's Graham here. I need to tell you about something coming up in January 2026. While most investors are making New Year's resolutions, a group of serious commercial real estate investors will be doing something different in Orlando. They'll be positioning themselves for the biggest opportunity we've seen in a while. 2026 is when preparation meets opportunity. The market is resetting, and creative financing is opening doors that were not open before. And investors with the right education will have their pick of deals in 2026. And that's what's happening at Commercial Academy Live in Orlando, January 30th through February 1st. 3 days with experienced operators who have actually done deals, capital partners looking to deploy money, and a community that becomes your competitive advantage. Are you ready to start 2026 with the momentum? I would not miss this event if I was you. Text Blueprint to 888-653-1199. Again, that's Blueprint to 888-653-1199. This will get you an exclusive discount to the Commercial Academy Live in Orlando. And remember, it only takes one deal, one time to change your life forever.
That's right. Hey man, listen, that's why we read books. That's why we listen to podcasts, is to say, you know what, where can I just steal knowledge from other people where they have paid the price for me to steal it, right? I will tell you right now, with 6 residential homes, I'm pulling my hair out. And everybody will tell you that. Right. There's you have 2 or 3 rentals. Sure. You can manage that. You've got 20 rentals. Sure. You can hire somebody really good to manage that. I'm in the middle right now. Right. And I don't have any more time to spend on it. And all these inflation that we just talked about are creeping up. Right. This is a really good reason to not only get commercial real estate, but maybe go into business with Jesse and Graham here and allow them to utilize their expertise to find the property, manage the property, do all that stuff, and you just become an investor in it, right? That to me is the ultimate way to do this. And sure, is it a little bit less money? Yeah, man, but the headache, the time, the learning curve of it, right? In my first deal, I did with my older brother because he had already done this 5 or 6 times, right? And I gave up half of a really good deal. And you know what? That was my education. That was my college in real estate, right? And so doing joint work or doing partnering, right? Yeah, you're going to give up some revenue, but man, you're going to be able to leverage. It's not about leveraging money. Okay. All right. Rich people leverage money. Rich people understand how to leverage money. Wealthy people leverage people. Okay. Wealthy people leverage people. They leverage their time, their experience, their hard work, their knowledge, right? And when we can start to leverage people, our net worth, our wealth acceleration is just going to take off, right? Anybody can leverage money. We can show you how to do that. But when we start to leverage people, man, wow, that's when this thing really starts to take off.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I think people who understand that, okay, I need to partner with somebody, because it's not all about having 100% of a deal. Like you mentioned, you got probably close to 100% of the 6 properties, and you're like pulling your hair out. And I think Graham and I would encourage you to consider selling each one of those in 1031 or taking the proceeds and then cost segging those buildings so that, you're in commercial assets for all 6. You have the potential to buy 6 different commercial buildings. That's amazing.
Yeah. I like that idea. I do. And, this cost segregation with the bonus depreciation, it's going to be changing the game here. It already is, right? Yeah. And it couldn't have come at a perfect time, because I don't know what you guys have found, but I do think it's a little bit harder to find good deals than it was pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, let me just go buy as much as I can, as fast as I can. And now looking at deals, it's a little bit tougher, right? Interest rates a lot higher, right? And so this the cost seg bonus depreciation, particularly for high income people, is going to be a game changer. It's almost like you're having Uncle Sam pay the down payment on the property for you, right? So now what people need to understand is, cash flow wise, you're still out of pocket. It doesn't cover the full down payment. You're still going to be out of pocket on this, but it really is going to help you leverage more money and get into more assets quicker. That's what we're trying to do, right? Not try to buy assets with cash. We're trying to leverage money so we can go get 4, 5, 6 different assets that are all growing at one pace, right?
For sure. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that it's been more difficult to find deals to pencil, especially for people who aren't in the weeds of the business every day like us. But the nice thing about the last, 4 years or so has been that it has been difficult. So if there's been difficult for other people, then it's forced us and sellers to be very creative. So like all of the deals we've bought so far, I think we have about 7 right now and 2 more under contract, but 6 of the 7 are seller financing deals. They're much way below market interest rates. They were creative deals, and having a bad environment to buy deals, some people say, well, I'm just going to sit around. Obviously there's the people who I'm just going to sit around. I'm going to save my money and wait till the interest rates come down. Okay, well, so is like 95% of other people. So the second the interest rates come down, everyone else is going to jump back in. And now it's not a problem of maybe finding deals that pencil, but it's a problem actually being able to buy one without overpaying. And so it's just an interesting dilemma. But I wanted to go back to something you said towards the very beginning of your our podcast. You talked about in your book, one of the first things you do is setting values and vision. And if you read all these different business books, the core thing that, these successful people talk about is before you do anything, you start with your values and your vision. So it's like, if you don't know where you're going, how the heck are you supposed to plan for it? And I think that ties into everything else we've been talking about too, which is like, I talked about, you can get into commercial real estate, you can do these deals and stuff like that. And you said, or you can pass it off to somebody like us. And I feel like that's part of the decision in the beginning. It's like, if you're a W-2 or you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is, you have to decide, what do you want to do with your time? If you want to be really good at your job, like you were talking about, and just spend all your time becoming a better employee, there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. But just make sure you have a plan for when you don't want to do that. And that could involve who, not how. So like you do your employee stuff, and then you invest with people like us, or you invest with people like you in the stock market, or whatever else you can do with financial planning. Or if you want to be more boots on the ground, you want to take the entrepreneurial route, then you can go actually get some of that sweat equity in bird dog deals and stuff. But the most important part is that you just have a plan and a vision for what you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, you're never going to do it. I mean, that's a huge part of obviously financial planning. You said that's the first thing you start with.
But we reverse engineer the financial plan, right? We start with the end in mind, and we reverse engineer a financial plan to help people get there, right? Now, some people, it's more around family, some people want generational wealth, some people want to spend more money, whatever it is. Every single plan we do is customized because every person's vision is different. Now, where a good coach comes in is they ask you questions you haven't thought about, and they get answers out of you that you didn't even know, right? And so, going back to the science of scaling here, a good coach doesn't ask you what your goals are. A good coach tells you what your goals are and sees how you respond, right? They push you further than you are willing to push yourself on there, right? But yes, yes, vision and values are so important, but I would also say this is that most people do not ever take the time to really think about, what is it that I really want? Not what Instagram tells me I want, not what society tells me what in the hell do I actually want, right? And we take people through this exercise in our very first meeting, because there's so much out there that society tells you should want. When we were younger, it was the trip to Fiji. Now it's the best stroller that your kids can sit in, and eventually it'll become the best private school that's in the area, right? And next thing you know, to quote, I think it was Will Rogers, we're spending money we don't have to impress people we don't like, to buy things we don't even want, right? And so we've got to get out of this jonesying of keeping up with the Joneses here and say, what in the hell do we actually want? What are our priorities? And all budgeting is taking money away from crap that doesn't matter to us and reallocating it to stuff that really does. Right. So for some people, they could be foodies and trying different restaurants. Some people might be movie and theater goers, right? Some people might be campers. Every person's a little bit different here. But we do want to start with that end in mind and build that vision of, here's what we want life to look like. And I was, one of the first books my dad ever read to us was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And it's kind of along the lines of The Secret, of this idea of manifestation. And I've come to the conclusion that manifestation does not change anything around us. It doesn't. It doesn't attract anything that's around us. What it does is it attracts us to the thing that we want. Okay. It changes us to the thing that we want. So going back to the science of scaling, We set a goal so high that we've got to change who we are to hit it, right? And that's what I do think, that when we're focused on something, when we have a vision, now that vision's not moving any closer to you, but you're moving closer to that vision. You're becoming who you need to be for that vision, and that's what a good financial planning does. Is that this whole thing of life is just a leadership journey. It's just becoming a better person over time. How do I get to be the person I need to be able to get the things that I want there? And so that's what I do like about financial planning, is it goes into the realm of personal planning, emotional planning. We're a psychologist most of the time, right? Great book, The Psychology of Money. Literally, that's probably more than anything. Like, I talk about tax mitigation, talk about real estate, talk about stock market, talk about insurance. Most of the time, I'm just dealing with people's human behavior, right? And so it's just becoming a better person to help us reach those goals.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I thought you were about to say something, Jesse. You look like you were about to say something.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Yeah, that's that's all really good stuff. I think this has been very valuable information, and we appreciate you coming on. What would be the best place for people to reach out to if they did want to talk to you about financial planning, or maybe hear more about your book?
Absolutely. So guys, first of all, I love this stuff, right? So feel free to reach out and talk. There's two websites I want to point with, two freebies. Number one is my book, empowered-money.com. So that's empowered-money.com. If you go on there, we've got a free financial plan. It'll take you 10 minutes to do, give you a really good idea of where you are in your financial planning journey. Society really is good about telling us like how much we should weigh and what, we should look like, but nobody ever really knows where they should be financially. So understanding where you are right now is super important, right? So we start with where you want to be, but then we got to backtrack. Okay, where are you? Now we can have 2 points. We can draw a straight line to get you there in the most tax advantage and cost efficient way possible, right? So that's number one, Empower-Money. You reach out to me there. You can go buy our book there. We're coming up with the Audible here soon as well. And then the other one, if you're a business owner, go check out our business software, thebusinessplanninginstitute.com. It'll take you 10 minutes. It's going to ask you about 20 questions, and you're going to get a valuation. What people would pay $10, $15, $20,000 for, you're going to get a valuation of your business, right? And now all of a sudden, we're going to have two dots, what your business is worth and what it could be worth if you get everything really buttoned up. And that's what we help people do now, is get their business valuations up. So those are the two free giveaways here. Whether you ever work with me or not, do those two things, or I think it'll really help you. And of course, on those websites are great ways for you to reach out to us directly, and hopefully we can help you in some capacity.
Awesome. Well, if you guys are listening to this and you want to learn more about those things, definitely go check them out on Alan's website. And yeah, once again, this has been a great episode. Really appreciate you coming on. It's been the first of its kind, having a financial planner on, and I think you gave some great insight and all sorts of different options. So we really appreciate it, Alan.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all.
Absolutely. See you guys in the next one.